This week we made a new dog food stand for Sarah's doggo.
Plus, we get to meet Holly from Oak and Copper. But first, it's time for a make or break.
Hey guys, I'm Rob, and this week Sarah asked if we could build her dog a stand for her bowls.
And we found this cool design that shouldn't be too hard to build.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be, except that we had to make it difficult on our own.
Here's how it went. I have a big doggo named Maui.
Very big.
She's not that big, but still 85 pounds.
That's big.
Fair enough. I've always had her bowls on the floor and wanted to raise them about a foot to make it easier for her to eat.
We figured this was a good opportunity to try some new wood species and chose some aspen and mahogany.
After I measured the dog bowls, I sketched up our plans on the desk to figure out how much material we'd need.
We measured out 68 inches and Sarah cut them down with a circular saw.
Next, we wanted to cut the aspen down to 3 smaller strips.
I took care of that on our table saw. After laying them in place, we knew we were off to a good start.
Then it was time for the glue up. I started by pulling out some paper to protect the bench and laid out our bar clamps. Next, we glued up each piece and did our best to flatten them all out as we clamped them down.
We wiped off the excess glue and then waited for it to dry.
A few hours later, we took off the clamps and I started the 10-year process of sanding it all down.
It didn't take 10 years.
You weren't there! You went up to the studio and probably played video games.
Sounds right.
Anyways, when I was done, I had to start making our cuts.
Now this design calls for 10-degree angles, so we adjusted the circular saw to 10 degrees and got cutting.
I started by cutting off the end and then measured out the rest of my pieces and cut.
Now this stand needs cutouts for the bowls, and for some reason we didn't have a protractor, so I just grabbed a scrap piece of wood, screwed it to the top, and drilled a hole for my pencil, and that worked perfectly.
Then we drilled a starter hole with a Forstner bit, and then Rob cut out the circles with a jigsaw.
Then it was time to glue these pieces together.
Our plan was just to use butt joints and hold them together with brad nails until it dried.
But as you can see, our board was less than flat, and the warped wood and odd angles made it super hard to clamp together.
But eventually we figured it out, dropped in some nails, and let it dry.
The next day it was all dry and stable, so Sarah sanded it all down.
Yep, and then we got to put on our respirators and apply a thick layer of lacquer.
Funny story, I forgot to open our garage door to air the room out, so instead my whole house smelled like lacquer for the rest of the day.
Are you guys alright?
Oh, sure, it didn't smell that bad, and we can all still count to purple without using our fingers.
Yikes.
Yeah. When it all dried, Sarah screwed on some feet, and that was that.
So I took it home, and now he loves it.
Those colors turned out beautiful.
I know, right? Okay, so I had no idea that it would be that pretty once we got the lacquer on it, but it turned out great.
Yeah, so does Maui like it?
Yes. Well, she will. She's afraid of everything that I build and bring into the house, so eventually she'll love it, but we'll get there.
I'm sure she'll warm up to it.
All right, it's time to meet a maker, and this week we're joined by Holly, an Instagram maker that goes by the name Oak and Copper.
Hey Rob and Sarah, I'm Holly over at Oak and Copper. I started my page in January with home renovations, DIYs, and furniture flips, and then this summer I started woodworking, and I love it. So you'll definitely be seeing me learn new things, fail, succeed, but my main goal is to inspire others to just pick up some tools and start building, because if I can make something, you can definitely make something. The unsung hero tool in my collection is definitely my sander, because it's the first power tool besides my drill that I started using. I'm one of those people that actually likes sanding. I just need to put some headphones in, turn on some music, and it's like meditation to me. My favorite sander is probably my Heart Tools cordless sander, because I can bring it outside and that way my garage doesn't get so dusty. Some of my favorites are the bench I'm actually sitting on. That's in my mudroom. That was my first project that I did all by myself with no help. Then I love the mirror I made with my dad. That one was really fun to do. These are actually both dupes for a higher end piece. And then probably also the blanket ladder I made, because the technique I used to distress it was really fun and nothing like I've done before. I definitely have to do a shout out to Builds by Kristen. Kristen is the reason why I picked up more tools and started building. She gave me the confidence, and she's just such a great cheerleader, such a great person, and she inspires me, and I love, love, love her budget builds. Also Josh over at Josh Hescott, and then my friend Tyler over at HGC AZ Homegrown Creations. Those guys, anytime I have a question about woodworking, they always answer, and I probably annoy them, but they're such awesome guys to follow along and learn from. My next project, because we're coming into the holidays, are gonna be all my gifts for my friends and family. I'm gonna make some blanket ladders, some charcuterie boards, and some picture frames, but definitely when it comes to the new year, I wanna build a dining room table. It's been my dream. I have so many different ideas, so I'm excited about that. Thanks, Rob and Sarah, for having me.
Thanks so much, Holly. If you guys are not already subscribed to Holly's channel, you can find her at Oak and Copper on Instagram.
Did you know that last week Rob here built a sofa bar? Whatever that is? Well, you can watch that right here.
We want to thank Heart for sponsoring this episode and reminding us that we can build anything we can imagine if we do it with heart. All right, break's over.
Let's make something.